Welcome to the Love Your Inner Athlete podcast, your go-to source for all things mental fitness in sports. Whether you're an athlete, coach, or parent, you will learn as you join us to dive into inspiring conversations with those who have worked to develop their mental fitness. You will hear from people who have put in the work as either an athlete, coach, or a parent. In each episode, we bring you discussions and expert insights on developing resilience, focus, and mindset. Discover the concepts of mental fitness and learn how to use it to create consistent, durable confidence in both sports and life. I'm your host, Hans Schulstedt. Let's get started. Welcome to the Inner Athlete podcast, where we talk about mental fitness and mental performance. Pleased to be joined today by Jacob Jeanette, a kid I've coached for many years, off and on. Started working with him in high school, and now he's playing at Union College. Spent a good amount of time in the USHL, and we're happy to have him join us today. So thanks for joining us, Jacob.
Thanks, Hans. Appreciate it.
Yeah. When you think back to your time in the USHL, all the different teams you were at, or maybe even in college, are there any particular moments that come to mind that really shaped you as a player and as a person?
So over my 4 years in the USHL, my first three were in Waterloo, and then my last year was split between Dubuque and Tri-City. So I tore my oblique end of November, I think it was, maybe right around Halloween or something, right around there. So I was out for 6 weeks with that injury, and my coach Chad Clare came up to me and he was like, "Hey, dealt with a lot of soft tissue injuries before. Here's this Mediterranean diet. So it's like a no inflammation diet. Cut all the processed foods out of your life." And so he told me to do that because he said it sped up his recovery with a lot of these soft tissue injuries. And honestly, at the time, I could have used a better diet. I was a heavier, chunkier kid. I had 1 point in 17 games at that point in the year. Wasn't really playing my best hockey. And then I think I remember talking to you about the Atomic Habits book, but if not mistaken, you told me to read that. And so I kind of took that period as just a self-betterment period, and kind of switched my mindset from maybe I'm just playing hockey, that's all that really matters, to more of a disciplined approach to everything. Mm-hmm. And the discipline through, on top of that, my head coach Matt Smavey was huge on the simple fact of making your bed in the morning, keeping your stuff nice and tidy. Yep. So the combination of that, dialing in the diet, picking up that Atomic Habits book, which really taught me how to form better habits, which really changed my life a lot and changed my life. And then coming back from my injury, instead of the 10-week recovery that it was supposed to be, it ended up being 6 weeks because of doing that diet. Yeah. Came back from injury, ended up putting up well over half a point a game for a good stretch, and ended up the season on a half a point a game pace. Whereas at first, before I was hurt, I had 1 point 17 games. So that was really big for me. And I think that's a big theme for me that's kind of carried out, is just that discipline and the habits of everyday life, really applying from your real life outside of hockey, and then implementing them. They really pay off in hockey as well. And that was kind of the biggest period that I've seen where kind of switched everything around, and that was really big for me.
What was the thing from Atomic Habits that helped you the most? And what habits did it help you to build?
I think the biggest thing for me was making habits attractive and making them, and kind of setting up your day the next day were the two things I really took out of it. Is, I guess as humans, we don't really think to do the hard thing first every time. You kind of go towards the easier thing. So if you make a habit attractive, all right, say reading, say you absolutely hate reading. Yeah. You can read 2 pages at a time at first, but then you're going to be okay, 2 pages is way too easy. The competitive side of yourself comes out. Now I want to read 5. Now I want to read 10 a day. Next thing you know, you're reading 20 or 30 a day, and you're really crushing it. So it's it's just taking incremental steps like that, not feeling you have to make a 0 to 100 jump right away,
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Here comes a chirp.
making it attractive. I'm sure that
Yeah.
was a tall task for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess that might not be in my genes here.
Yeah. So you've moved teams. You've made a jump from like three different levels. What were the most challenging parts, and which level switch was the most challenging from like high school, junior, college? Like, say a little bit about those transitions for yourself.
Yeah, I mean by far I think the hardest transition was to the USHL from college. I was only a junior in high school. I was a little young, but it was just like playing against like real men and guys who understand the game on like a different level compared to that high school level. Like those
Yeah.
levels aren't even they're not even comparable to be honest. And it was a big process of learning and because my whole entire life I've been bigger than everybody, stronger than everybody. I'd had a lot of success, and then having to switch my role and really realize if I want to play hockey onto another level, like I'm going to have to switch my role. That's kind of what that jump to the USHL taught me. And
Uh-huh.
it took a couple of years to figure that out because I mean, I remember it clear as day. I came in and I was trying toe drags and stuff when on the first couple of days of practice, and even my strength coach, he came up to me and he's like, "Hey, that's not your thing, man." Like, and it took me a while to just realize, like, yeah, you can make those moves, you can make those plays, but at the end of the day, I'm a big guy, skate well, and you're probably going to end up chipping more pucks in than not, but you're going to have success in a different way than someone else. And it kind of taught me that like you can have your own path to have success. And I mean, like a big example of that is Bobby McMahon, who's playing for the Leafs right now. I mean, played at Colgate, didn't have like crazy amount of points like anybody else, but now he's lighting it up because he's kind of just stuck to his process as a player. And but yeah, that was probably the biggest transition for me. It was definitely tough. It wasn't seamless at all. I think a lot of kids may think like, oh, I made it to the USHL, like everything's all fine and dandy now. But it's to be honest, like once you get to the USHL, that's when the work starts. You just realize how hard everybody else works when you get to the pinnacle level of junior hockey. You realize like everyone wants it just as bad, if not more than you, and that just leads you to push yourself even more. And I was definitely a hard worker growing up, but I took it to another level once I got to juniors because I just straight up had to, and it was the culture that's kind of developed there.
You still follow that Mediterranean diet?
No, I've kind of changed. I definitely still follow a diet. I'm not willy-nilly American diet or anything, but switched to more of like a heavy fruit diet. Don't eat any grains or bread or anything like that. I rarely eat rice. I normally eat potatoes for carbs, fruit and honey for carbs, and then I've actually been eating a lot of red meat as well, pretty nutrient rich foods and a lot of avocados and things like that as well. I just try to eat a lot of meat and fruit and some potatoes, sweet potatoes, kind of things like that.
So tell me, when you make a mistake or something happens that's beyond your control, or you're struggling in a game, how do you usually reset so that you move on to the next play?
It's pretty simple. I'll come back to the bench and usually I'm pretty fired up in my head, but I know it doesn't do anything to show it to your teammates. So, because I used to be really bad at that, like I get really pissed off at myself and I'd show it really bad. Now I've learned come back to the bench, just take the biggest inhale possible, even if I'm like out of breath, and close my eyes for a second and just come back. And that's all I can do. And I find if I release like my hands on my stick as well, like not gripping my stick as tight, and like that releases like some type of mental tension for me. So that's kind of the biggest thing that I do. And when I'm super, super focused on the game, that nothing else matters. That also helps me like kind of stay in the moment as well, rather than like if my eyes are wandering into the stands thinking about what's going on up there. That's when I kind of realize it's like, oh, now I'm in the game and oh, I messed up and now I'm pissed at myself because I messed up. Whereas if you're kind of a part of the flow of the game, it makes it a lot better.
Hmm. Okay. So you've really figured out like a routine to get yourself back.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Okay.
that's kind of the biggest thing for me is
Okay.
just like a routine and a system.
Okay. Sometimes hockey, and particularly college hockey, can start, to feel like a business. So how do you maintain your love for the game, and how do you use that when things are tough or you're in the grind in the middle of the season?
Something that was, I mean, this will bring me back to juniors mainly was well, I got traded at the trade deadline from Dubuque to Tri-City. And I was just like, I loved the group of guys we had in Dubuque. I loved the coaches there. And I was honestly quite thrown off that I got traded and went to Tri-City. And those guys brought me in with open arms, which was fantastic. But at the same time, I was kind of like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm in my fourth year of junior hockey. Now I'm traded to the middle of Nebraska. I don't really know what's going on here, you know? And so that was tough for me. But the thing you realize is like, you've been doing this your whole life. And you kind of just part of the grind. And like when I accepted that it's like, it is what it is. Can't do anything about it. You're still playing the game you love that you've been doing since you were, for me, 3 years old. Like that's kind of what I always relate it back to is like, what would my like 9-year-old self think about this? Like, hey, you're going to play college hockey next year. You're playing in the best league possible. You got coaches that believe in you. Like that's kind of like the approach I take is like I would do anything to be in this spot as like a younger kid, you know?
So when you have like faced that adversity and like moved your way up, what are the lessons you've learned from that?
I think some of like the biggest lessons I've learned is obviously like nothing is given. Like you could think you've got a spot locked down and everything, but the second you take your foot off the pedal, there's someone working harder to take it from you. And that's something I've learned a lot. And then I've also learned it the opposite way is when you think something's out of reach, somebody will slip down and you can take their spot kind of thing as well. And like, it's kind of like the hungry dog gets fed kind of thing. Like the person, like the guy who keeps working is just, he's going to get rewarded. And I've seen it time and time again, like seeing guys at the bottom of the depth chart who are getting scratched by the end of the year. They're the first, second line player. They're on the power play. Like it just happens. Like it's especially in junior and college. Like you see a lot of guys who just keep sticking with it. They have the most success over time and they're able to climb those line charts and everything.
Okay.
So.
And what would you tell like young players who are, or parents, what advice would you give them about getting through the grind of juniors?
I think it's not getting hung up in like the am I getting scouted thing. Like when you're playing for scouts, you're going to play so much tighter. And like, I understand it. It's hard because it's like call a spade a spade. Junior hockey is a stepping stone. It's not a destination. Like everyone wants to go and play college hockey. No one dreams about playing in the USHL their whole life, you know, like regardless of where you're from. Like it's a great honor to play in that league, and I loved every second of it. But at the end of the day, my main goal is to play college. And when you're there, you can kind of get caught up in you're not in the present moment because you're like, oh, am I getting scouted? Am I not? When you just like sit down and lay in the present and you're like, hey, I'm playing with a good group of guys right now and I want to just have fun, play hockey, and you're submerged in the moment, I think that's when you're going to have the most success. And that's when I've had the most success in my career personally. And I'm sure any guy that I played with will tell you the same thing.
So basically what you're telling me is when you focus on what you can control, you play better?
100%. That's put a lot simpler than I can put it, but that is that's spot on. Yeah.
Well, and if I remember correctly, like at the beginning, you probably didn't feel like you were getting scouted a lot.
No, I wasn't. And that was the biggest challenge that me and you kind of had with me is I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm getting screwed here. Like, what are the coaches thinking? What are these people thinking? What's this person thinking? I need to get this. Like that at the end of the day, it didn't matter. You know?
Yeah. Well, and I don't really know the story. How'd you end up at Union?
So over the summer, going into my last year at juniors, I talked with the head coach that I'm with now, Josh Houge. And we just had like a quick conversation, kind of said we'll stay in touch. And I played well at the showcase with when I was still with Dubuque. Kept talking to him, and I was having a pretty good year. Went out and visited, loved the place, loved the people there. The strides that we've made as a program in the last 2 years are just bar none. They've been great. Like talking to guys who were seniors this year, the culture there was not in a great spot. a couple of years ago, and now this year we had a first round bye going into playoffs, which means top four in our conference. Definitely didn't get the outcome we wanted, and I think that's something that our group is not happy about for sure. But it's a motivating factor for next year because we know what we've got in the locker room, and there's a lot of belief in what we can do as a group. And but yeah, that's kind of how we did. I had a lot of great talks with Lenny Childs and John Ronan as well in that process, but that was kind of how it went.
You just had the conversation and he said, let's stay in touch. And he actually did it.
Yeah, 100%. And
Yeah.
I think it's like initiating contact with those colleges as well. Like I'd reach out to them because I was really interested in Union. I'd heard great things about it. The main thing that they were pitching to me was like the culture's changing. We think you can be a part of that. We're only recruiting good people. We're not like we'll pass up on a guy if he's a better hockey player, but he's a bad human being. And like that was a big thing for me. But that made me want to reach out to them as well. So like keeping in contact, it's like the thing that I didn't really realize, and a lot of kids didn't realize, is when I was younger, is like these coaches have a billion things going on. Like they gotta coach, they gotta recruit other kids, they gotta work with whatever, like people at the school, like they've got 100 million things going on. You gotta reach out to them, and so you're popping up first on their text, you're popping up first on their email because at the end of the day, like you'd like to think that you're the top priority for them, but odds are, unless you're going first round of the NHL draft, you're probably not like on the top of their mind at all times. Like you're gonna have to reach out and make contact with them if they contact you and just say, "Hey, coach, would love to talk sometime. See where we're at, whatever." You know.
Oh, so did you email a lot of coaches and juniors?
I didn't email any coaches and juniors. I was kind of more wait until people reach out. If you're wanted enough, like they're gonna reach out. You know. That was kind of the approach I took. I think if I would have been a little more proactive, maybe I could have had some other opportunities, other places, but honestly, I wouldn't trade the opportunity I have at Union for the world. So I can't really speak too much on that, but I know that guys who have reached out have had success doing that as well. It's just not the path I chose to
So
take.
what do you love about playing at Union?
I love the guys, honestly. We have the best group of guys, and the coaches are so passionate and they're fun to be around too. It's like they're guys, the coaches are guys you can go up and have a conversation with anytime you want. And then like the group we have in the locker room, it's like we've got a bunch of guys who get along really well off the ice, but then when it comes to on the ice, super competitive. Like we got more than half the team on the ice after practice or before practice, like just working on extra stuff. Guys who are in the weight room a little extra. Like we have a lot of guys who genuinely just want to get better at hockey, who legitimately want to win, not just a bunch of phonies who are saying they want to win, which is the kind of culture I love being around.
What is the extra stuff that you feel like you do now or that you did in junior that helped you to be a better player?
I think the biggest thing in junior was kind of learning how to take care of your body. It sounds like it's such a little thing, but like over the course of a 62 game season in juniors, you kind of learn that your body deteriorates and you got to start taking care of it. So little things like mobility, foam rolling, stretching, all of that kind of stuff is really incremental to that. And then like just working on like a skill like that you think you're lacking at. So like something that I have struggled with a lot in my career is just like the finishing touch around the net. So like something I'm going to work on this spring and going into the summer is little drills where I got to deflect the puck into a spot in the net that I want, or like being in the right spot where the puck comes to me off of a rebound kind of thing. Like I think those little niche skill details are probably the things I'd say I work on the most and I've seen the most result from, along with like power skating and any kind of skating work. You really can't get enough of that.
Do you spend the summers in New York or do you go home?
I go home for the summers. We stay pretty late into the school year. We leave June 13th.
Yeah.
So we don't get too long of a summer, but yeah, I come home and I train with my trainer I've been working with since I was like 15 years old. Skate up in Hermantown with some of those guys there. Work a hockey camp in the summer as well. So
Oh, which camp
yeah,
is that?
it's called Grit Hockey Camp.
Oh, okay. Tell me how you balance like all the demands of playing college hockey, like school, practice, lift. academic study sessions, like, and then
Yeah.
unbelievably like having a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, for me, like a big thing with discipline for me is eating. Because like in the past, like haven't eaten great, whatever. And so like deliberately choosing like my meals and like cooking my own meals like leads to me kind of having my day set up. So I'll just kind of like walk you through like a day that I'd have usually. I'd have class at 9:15. I'd wake up at 8 and then make breakfast, make my bed, go to class, probably go to the rink after
what time do you go to the
and
rink? Yeah.
go to the rink around noon, practice at 1:30.
Yeah.
And then once I'm done with that, sometimes you'd have a workout after practice. So let's say I'm done with everything around 4. So depending on the day, see like check my work schedule for school, and if I have a lot of or if I have some work I got to do, get it done, and then I got the rest of the day to either hang out with the guys or do whatever else. And if I have no work, then just find something fun to do, kind of get my mind off of it. And but it was almost a non-negotiable to make dinner for myself every night just to kind of stay in that routine of doing that as well. So
So
that's kind of what I do.
have you become a pretty good cook?
Yeah, you almost do by default with as much as I'm doing. I mean, it's 3 meals a day usually, 2 to 3 meals a day I'm cooking. So kind of got to learn to spice things up a little bit.
Tell me a little bit more about you as a guy outside the rink. One of the things I remember us talking about is like not having your identity as a hockey player define who you are. So tell me a
Mhm.
little bit more like about that.
Yeah, I think overall I'm pretty loose outside of the rink. I'm not one of those guys that likes to talk about hockey a whole lot outside the rink. I kind of like leaving my job at the workplace, I guess, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so like in the off season, I love hanging out with the guys. I love like my roommate and I, Joe Messina, we both kind of set up our room to where it can be like the hangout spot for the guys.
Yep.
So we probably got like say 10, 12 other guys on my team that live in the same building as us. And we get more than half of them in our room almost every day playing a board game called Catan. We play a lot of that. Or it's just like sitting down, either watching hockey, watching a movie, doing anything like that. Like I like being surrounded with the guys a lot, and
Uh-huh.
just having a good chop with the guys is kind of like my big thing, and not taking everything too seriously. I think I keep it pretty loose away from the rink. Don't I'm pretty intense in my own head, but I think a big thing for me is trying not to show that, because I think that can be a little bit draining for people sometimes if they don't have like that same like regimented schedule that I have in my own head. So I try not to portray it too much, and so that's kind of the main thing that I try to do, I guess.
What I keep hearing over and over again, and I think this is something that we talked about way back when you were setting goals and values, is like you really value relationships.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of that, tell me about like coaches you've had in your life that are the best coaches for you, and what is it that make them great coaches to you?
Yeah. The guy who's had the biggest impact on my career is Chad Kolaric and Matt Smavey, kind of as a combo. Maybe was just like your discipline guy, like really, really drove it home that like, hey, it's like success is earned by the second, it's not earned by the year kind of thing, you know? Like
Uh-huh.
every single action, every single thing that you do is going to lead to you being successful. And that's the thing that's resonated with me the most. And I have so much respect for that guy because he lives by example. Like he's the kind of guy, he's still in great shape at his age. I mean, not he's not that old, but like he's still like he's working out every day, and like you can tell he's in great shape. He walks what he talks, and like I have so much respect for him. And then Chad Kolaric, he was huge as well for me, just kind of getting me on that diet. He kind of taught me the stay loose but stay dialed kind of motto that I carry a lot. But yeah, those two guys, they did a lot for me. And you could tell they genuinely cared as well. Like they were good people, really wanted the best for me. And both of them, like even when I was still playing in the USHL and playing against those two coaches, they still reached out to me when I committed and were like, hey, really proud of you. Like happy for you and everything.
Yeah.
So those two, the combination of just like life skills and just being a really good human, like I had the utmost respect for those two guys.
You know, when times were tough, why, like, there are a lot of kids like with the scenarios that you described, like in your first couple of years that would have just quit hockey? Why didn't you quit? Why did you keep going?
Honestly, I had the pressure of you left high school early, finished the job,
Yeah.
and at the same time, it's like, what the hell else are you gonna do? You know, like I feel like once you get to that point in your career where you're playing at a higher level, it's like you've kind of dedicated most of your life to it. So like if things are tough, like why would you quit? Why wouldn't you try and like make a story out of it? I mean, I don't think there's any reason not to. I mean, there's plenty of examples of like people who have gone through tough times and they've gotten through it. Like hockey's the latest developing sport in sports. Like,
Yeah.
pretty sure that's proven that it is. And it's just, you got to keep with it. That's kind of all of what it is. I've always been told by my dad, like, you got to put your best effort towards actually everything you do. Doesn't matter how tough it is, because I had conversations with him where I'm like, dude, I don't want to do this anymore. And he's like, what do you mean you don't want to do this? Like, it's tough, but like, you're going to get through it if you just keep putting your best foot forward, you know? I know that's like pretty bare bones on what it is, but that's kind of like as simple of a mindset as I had. And I think being as simple of a mindset made it so much easier for me to kind of take everything one step at a time and not look at things in such a negative lens.
Okay. What would you say is maybe some of the best advice like a teammate or coach has ever given you?
I gotta go back to Smibs. That thing about him saying every single moment and every single day is so important, and your actions really lead to results. It's stuck with me. It's stuck with me in every aspect of my life. So that's kind of a motto I live by. That's why I brought up like being kind of regimented and disciplined so much, is kind of because of those words and that experience I had in Waterloo getting hurt. It was mainly a lot of the development in my character as a person and as a player came from that kind of mindset of just, it's the make your bed mindset, I guess is what he calls it. And it's just like one good action, one productive action is going to lead to another, whether it's outside the rink, it's going to translate to inside the rink as well. So,
Yeah. What would you tell young players about how to handle challenging coaches or challenging teammates?
I'd say challenging coaches is, they all want your best interest. Like if you have a coach,
Yeah.
they recruited you for a reason. Like they picked you for a reason. I guess I can't speak for that same point if like you get to a place and your coach that recruited you is gone. I mean, but the thing is you're still on their team and they want their team to be the best as possible. So if they're ripping you, that means they see something in you. I mean, the perfect example of that is like when I was in high school, I got pushed really hard by my coach, but I know it's because he saw what I had in me. And I've never taken it as a huge, like a knock on my game. I've always taken it as a compliment. As, don't look at it as, oh, he hates me, he wants me to be buried. It's like, no, he cares enough to say something to you because he thinks you've got more. And then like for teammates wise, I don't know if all teammates want the best interest, but if you go in the mindset that they have the best interest, it's going to save you a lot of mental power. Some of it's just a complete like BSing game with some of it in your head. Like, to be honest, I've had some guys that are really tough on me as teammates, and I know they have only their best interests in mind, and they could care less what happens with me. But if you tell yourself that that's what's happening, you're just gonna hate them even more. And being the bigger person in that spot and just like nodding your head and just rushing it the other way, you're gonna be way better off. It's gonna save you a lot of energy.
Well, and what I'm hearing you say is something that I try to tell my son a lot and other people
Mm-hmm.
is assume positive intent from people. And
100%.
that's part of like the way that you forgive other people. And one of the things I've often heard and said to people is, holding a grudge is like you taking a poison pill and expecting the other person to die.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
I think that's really great advice. And I actually like what I think is really cool about what we're talking about is I see that like many of the things we talked about that you were young, whether you know it or not, you grabbed onto.
Yeah, 100%.
Because what I hear out of you is like a lot of maturity in how you're approaching everything, and you sound like You sound like a real pro.
Hmm. Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
something I've worked at a lot in the last couple of years. Like we've only met maybe 2 or 3 times in the last couple of years, but like I think like the foundation we built when I was a lot younger was just like so substantial because we had those conversations in probably the toughest times of my career about like how I want to be as a person, how it'll lead to me being a player. And I think it's just applying a lot of those almost subconsciously is like it's been huge for me.
I also think where I would give you some credit, and you can say more about this or give credit to, is your parents. Like, I knew early on that your parents were outstanding people.
Mhm.
Like, that was pretty clear. And I think that has a lot to do with where you're at.
100%. Yeah, I could attribute 95% of it to them.
Yeah.
I mean, my mom, like, just to put it super bluntly, like both my parents super empathetic people, which I can attribute a lot to. My mom even more. And like that's something I've carried into a lot of my life is like caring about kind of what the other person says, but like also taking like the positive outlook on things. And then my dad kind of just like the way he pushed me throughout my career was such like a welcoming way instead of like a you need to go and play Division 1. My dad would be the guy who would say, "Hey, like if you want to keep playing, you got to do this, and you got to keep like if you want to be better at hockey, you got to go shoot pucks in the garage. But if you don't feel like this is your thing anymore, you can quit, but you're going to finish the season out as best as you can." And that's the thing that he'd say the job's not finished, but when it's finished, you can quit as much like if you want to. And I think that's what kind of drove me. It's like because that didn't allow me to quit when things were tough at all, and he wouldn't let me do that. And
Yeah.
there was times when I was younger in the middle of the season when I'd be playing soccer. I played a different sport. So I'm like, I saw all this stuff about the multi-sport athletes. I'm like, Dad, I want to play soccer. He's like, whatever. 2 months into it, I couldn't stand it. It was my least favorite thing on the planet. But the fact of the matter is I was missing hockey practices in the summer for soccer because that was the season I was dedicated to. For me at the time, like I couldn't do hockey. So and then I remember coming up to him 2 months into the season. I'm like, Dad, I'm done. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. He's like, you're mid-season. You're not quitting. What the hell do you think you're doing? It's like kind of that job or that mindset of like finish the job and the task at hand and do what you want when it's done, you know?
Well, that also sounds like really good boundaries on their part. And the other thing that
Mhm.
I would take from that and what you're saying is it's no surprise based on your answer that you value relationships because there are a lot of kids whose parents would take a much more compliant and compulsive approach. Like,
Yeah.
hey, this is what you got to do, which is a great approach. Like, this is what it
Hmm.
takes, right? But if you don't want to do those things, that's fine. It's your choice. I'm not going to be
Hmm.
mad at you or like sacrifice my relationship with you in order for you to meet one of their needs to feel good about themselves.
100%. It's like my dad, like by no means at one point in my life have I ever felt like he's tried to like live out a dream through me. Like I see a lot of other parents honestly do. And like that's been so reassuring for me because he's like, this is your path, and I'm so proud of you for doing what you've done, but it's your path. And like, I'm gonna support you through it. But if it's not your thing and you're genuinely not happy about it, you don't need to do it. Like, yeah, I'll even take my brother for an example. Like, love the kid to death. He's my best friend in the world. And I pushed him a lot, like in hockey when he was younger and it just wasn't his thing. And it took him a while where he was like, honestly, because we grew up in a family where I'm the firstborn kid. It's just me and my brother. And we were like hockey, 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 because I was so into it. And Nick kind of got roped into that just as like a byproduct of being younger and being like, oh, this is what we do, I guess. Turns out he doesn't like it as much. Quits hockey his junior year of high school, hasn't looked back and regretted it for a second. Like that's the perfect example. Like I could have taken the same path. We all love Nick just as much as they love me. Like there's no difference in anything, you know? And I think that's the beauty of kind of like the dynamic my parents have taken at things
Yeah.
for sure.
So you've been at this a while, right? And what are you going to
Mhm.
be a junior next year?
Yep.
Okay. So how do you go about when you're at the level that you're at, where like a lot of kids would be like, yeah, I'm at Union, I've arrived. How do you push yourself and how do you keep setting goals?
I think it's just the drive, like just to play pro, like you're one step below playing the level you've dreamed about playing your entire life. Like, I mean, it's pretty cool. Like, guy in our team signs an NHL contract this year. That's within reach. Like, I'm buddies with this guy. Guys you play against in your league are signing NHL contracts. Like, it's just kind of that kind of gives a sense of belief. And honestly, it's just sticking to the same process that I've known has worked in the past. And like, to be honest, like my season didn't go as great as I would have liked it this year. It didn't produce as much as I would have liked, but honestly, that doesn't matter because I'm just gonna like I gotta put my right foot in front of my left at the end of the day, and I've just gotta keep to my process. And I believe in my process because I genuinely believe that like I'm gonna outwork the guy to the right and to the left of me.
Mm-hmm.
And if that doesn't work out, so be it. I'll go work, make as much money as I can, working hard in the business world and do that. But honestly, like that's not where my head's at. That's just my overall outlook. But I want to play pro as long as I can at the end of the day. And I'm gonna put all my effort into that at this point in my life. And when that's done and it gets put to a halt, I'll quit. But I'll do everything I can to make sure that doesn't happen.
What are you majoring in?
Economics.
Is school tough there?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I've been doing fine in it, but I've also put some pretty good work towards school overall. So yeah, it's a hard school for sure. Not easy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything that I ever said or did with you that like still sticks with you now or really changed your perspective?
Yeah, and I think it's like something you're not gonna expect.
It usually
It's the fact that like you came into a meeting with a joke every time, and that kind of like taught me like you're working the mental side of your game, and you're thinking like, oh, this is all like mindset driven. I gotta be super dialed, this, that, the other thing. Whereas like in reality, like chill, dude. Like just take it easy, man. Like life is life, and that's kind of like the way I look at things now. Like it's just like a way chiller perspective on life. Whereas like before I started working with you, and even at the beginning of when I started working with you, I was so tense and I was so like goal driven that like that was all that was on my mind. When it's like you just take a breath and appreciate something for once, or take a breath and laugh at something, like it's gonna relieve you a lot. And that's why, like I was saying, like away from the rink, I'm kind of more of a like don't talk about hockey as much, just because it's like you just spend time with the guys. Yeah, you can talk about hockey if it comes up, but like that's not gonna be my driving factor. I'd rather get to know people for who they are, not who they are as hockey players, you know?
Oh,
And
so more of who they are than what they are.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. You remember watching the Jackie Robinson video with me?
So vaguely.
Yeah, where like
Refresh me on it.
the pitcher can't get him out and he gets super rattled.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like one of the main lessons I take from that is like that I want people to get from that clip is that who you are is different than what you are as a player. That you need to separate the two.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
100%.
The other thing I'm surprised to hear is that I told jokes.
Yeah. God, who would have thought?
Thanks for doing this. It was great having you on. It's great to see like that you're doing what you love. You're having a lot of fun. That you've really taken. Like I bet if we looked at your goal sheet, I bet you've met a lot of them, and I think it's really cool that you've done that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the strides that I've taken since we've begun working together have been, I think, exactly what I've kind of wanted. And I mean, it's testament to you, but like, I mean, it's just been the craziest ride ever.
I'll see you later. Have a great day.
All right, see you, Hans. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bud.